Seasonic, the heart of your system.
I'm Neil Walder for Kit Guru. This case is the SilverStone LD01 from their Lucid series. It's a micro ATX design. It has an inverted motherboard. I do not currently know about their artful blend of engineering and aesthetics, but I'm going to find out. Well, that's certainly small, but then that's what you expect from micro ATX. And we've got some peeling to do. That's better. Now that's unexpected. I can see through the glass there's some packages inside the case. The specification for this case includes no fans whatsoever, but I see on the packing list I've got the case. I've also got a pair of RGB fans, judging by the part number AP142, and an LSB02. So 3 things in there. Let's see what they're about. Tempered glass retained by a pair of thumb screws. The mechanism is very conventional. It's just the panels are glass, chunky glass, rather than your standard steel. And there we have some fans and some packaging. And we spin that around a bit. Front panel come off. Dust filter on the front. So what I have here are a pair of 140mm RGB fans, just as I thought. And also this multifunction addressable RGB control box with remote, LSB02, presumably to control the RGB fans. I am assuming these do not come with this case. This case is a retail price in the UK, a few quid under £99. I'm going to have to go away now and check with Silverstone before I proceed, because what are we going to say these parts are worth? 20, maybe £30 for that. Each of these fans probably £20. So top of my head this is, I'm seeing this for the first time just as you're at this part of the video. I'm saying that's about £70 worth of RGB and cooling kit right there, and a case that's 99. So that is a significant proportion of that. I will go and check. What do we have? We have a micro ATX chassis. We have at the front a filter that I first thought was poorly magnetized, but is some sort of catch from the inside. You can't pull that, you do have to release it from the inside. And away it comes. The packaging and the manual refer to stainless steel and glass. That's quite clearly those panels, because this core chassis is mild steel, it's SEC. Inside we've got the inverted motherboard layout, so the case grommets for cable management are on the wrong side, as is the graphics card support. That's the wrong way round. In the back, that's popped out of place in transit. So we've got 1, 2, 3 drive caddies, that one there. Goodness, you don't even get a box of accessories, just a bag, which is motherboard standoff screws and such like. On the top we have a magnetic dust filter. Should be one for the power supply. Yes, there is. Okay, so a full complement of dust filters and some packaging dust. We've got the 3 screws. We've got 3 caddies for 3.5, 2.5 drives, and we've got 2 SSD mounts up there. So plenty of storage. We've got a deep channel for cable management. We've got Velcro straps And on the front panel we have headset jacks, 2 USB 3 Type A's, 1 Type C, and by my reading of the manual that's a Gen 1, so it's the same type of header as the 2 Type A's. It's not a Gen 2 with the completely different connector. That's my test system built, and personally I think it looks rather tasty. The combo of stainless steel and glass works, and it works well. Do remember the RGB that you can see is from those 2 accessory fans. You don't get RGB with this case. I'm going to pull off the glass to avoid reflections and such like, so you can see better what's going on inside, but as things stand, this is the overall impression that you get when you first look at the case. The fan RGB control unit comes with the minimum of documentation. It's multilingual, it's quite brief, you do have to figure out what the heck's going on. Once you figure it out, you realise that everything comes down to this little remote control here, and one of the things you can do is you can turn off the fans, which is welcome, or rather stop them spinning. So light function and fan function, 2 different things. Put the LEDs back on, put it into demo mode. It's quite pretty. So there's no software that comes with this setup. You rely entirely on this to control it, and I must confess I've struggled with it. What we have for this test system is a Core i9-7920X, that's a Skylake X12 core 24 thread. Motherboard is ASRock X299M Extreme 4, obviously micro ATX. Clearly you could put a mini ITX in, but kind of what's the point. The cooler is an unusual choice. It was not what I was expecting to use when I started this build. It's a Corsair H60, that's a 120mm AIO. We've got those 2 SilverStone 140mm air penetrator fans, 32GB Corsair Dominator Platinum SE, that's DDR4 3466, and an EVGA GTX 1080 Ti SC graphics card. Power supply is Seasonic Focus Plus Platinum 850px, and it's a Samsung 960 Pro M.2 SSD. I've got a couple of storage drives on the back actually. Let me just swing this around to show you that. Like so. This mounting plate, it's 1 screw and away it comes, and then you can mount the SSDs by screws from the back of the plate, as it were, so you don't have to put screws in from the motherboard tray. You can remove the plate very easily. That's good. Its access, generally speaking, is not bad at all, but for example the SSDs, you clearly have to put the cables in from the bottom, and in both cases the connectors are on the top, so if you were to do that they would be inverted. But as you'll see around the other side, that's true of everything in this system. So the power supply has gone in with a reasonable amount of space. I've left the drive caddy pulled back against the power supply. You can mount it in a number of different places. There are 4 sort of positions for the screw holes, or of course you can remove it entirely. So you can slide it quite a long way forward should you choose, which obviously then takes up this space here. I want to let the fans do their job a bit better. But the space doesn't really feel to me like the space where you'd want to... Well, I don't think you can put a custom loop in this case unless you work really hard at it. Putting an all-in-one at the front would clearly be an option. But I wanted to use those 140 fans in their whole RGB-ness rather than mount them on a radiator, which may not have been a good idea. If we swing this around, so I instead opted for the H60 at the back, and the reason I didn't try and squeeze a cooler in the roof, it would have just about gone, is because everything being inverted means that I think the graphics card fans would have been fighting the all-in-one in the roof, unless I used the roof as an intake and then an intake and then all exhaust to the rear. And I was really undecided about the best route to go with this one. It's very strange. You invert things and you start to have to kind of figure out what's flowing where. So the front is intaking, the rear is just left open, and the back is exhaust. The air flows through and it seems to work. Temperatures are a tad higher than ideal. They are warmer than the Gamer Storm New Art 90 I saw quite recently, but that's a much bigger case. I'm quite sure that this is a combination of things. It's partly probably that I'm using a small CPU cooler, although it worked perfectly well even on this beefy processor, but it's that the case is small. I don't honestly think that the inversion brings you any benefits in terms of airflow and cooling. We've seen, I can't remember the model code now, Silverstone in the past, they had a case that had sort of two 200mm fans in the floor and the thing was just a chimney. That was very clever, it worked perfectly well. This is a different design. This is everything's flipped, which means you put the PC on the other side of your desk. That's the only reason I can see for having it flipped. But in terms of the cooling, this layout, it works, but it is a bit strange. When I had the chassis stripped down, I was struggling to see what you get for your money. It's close to £100, so that's, you know, enthusiast mid-range territory. Lots of competition in that area from every decent manufacturer, and yet the build quality is perfectly okay. And I wouldn't honestly put it much further than that. The steel all feels a little bit on the thin side, but on the other hand, cable management and so on, it all works. You've got the space to put the cables from the power supply and such, like, no complaints. I mean, it goes together perfectly well, but nonetheless, when it's stripped down, it feels like it's a £50 case. And bear in mind, you don't get any fans in that price. You know, it's just a box. So a huge part of the value has to come down to the side panels and the front panel, the stainless steel glass combo, which I do like. It works well, it looks nice, but there's no noise deadening worthy of the name. It is fully filtered, but nonetheless, it makes quite a noise. Now, I've got a fairly high-end PC working away inside this chassis, so I'm stressing it perhaps to unfair levels. Nonetheless, you have to decide how you're going to use this chassis, and if you're putting like a basic PC in it, and you're going to put some lights in it or some RGB fans, then no doubt you'll be very happy with it. You also have to question why you're building an inverted PC. And the only reason I can think for using this chassis, rather than a more conventional chassis, is you want to put it on the other side of your desk. I mean, which is a perfectly reasonable point. It's not something that I wake up in the morning thinking I want the PC over there rather than over there. That is the market that this chassis caters for. It sits here on the desk. As a mid-tower case, it works perfectly well. Building in it is no problem at all. I mean, as ever with a small case, you struggle a little bit because there's slightly less space. The fact I had to sort of think where I was going to put things, such as the H60 AIO, so putting it to the rear, that's not my natural choice. Perhaps had there been a case fan mounted there, I wouldn't have even thought of doing that. But as it was all open, no fans as I say, on it goes. So overall, it works. The cable management is perfectly fine. The options for things like storage, yep, absolutely. If you're using two 2.5-inch drives and an M.2, you've got no need to use the drive caddies in the bottom whatsoever. The drive caddies incidentally are quite cutesy. So that's one of the three. And if I just release that catch, it just pulls very slightly, just enough to allow these pins to flex to go around the drive. It's quite an unusual thing to do, and the thing is that it's essentially achieving the same end as we've seen with some other caddies, which are essentially just entirely flexible and more like sort of rigid gel with the pins in place. So you don't have to release one side from the other a bit, you just flex the whole thing and it clips in place. And in a sense, I think that sums up what's going on with Silverstone here, which is that they've constructed a perfectly decent case. They know how to build cases, we know that. They've done any number of innovative cases over the years. In this instance, they seem to have gone for a micro ATX form factor for no particularly good reason, because micro ATX is that sort of forgotten form factor. ATX, loads of them, eATX, bit rare. Mini ITX, there are quite a few mini ITX boards in the market. In the UK, micro ATX, there's not a lot around. It's the cheap form factor, and as a result, I think you'll struggle to find a micro ATX board, as I say, with two USB 3.0, it used to be 3.1 Gen 1 as it is now, headers. So I think that kind of sums that up. It looks very smart with its panels on it, but when you get down to it, it's quite an expensive case for which you're basically shopping for the looks and not a great deal else. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, well, okie dokie, thumbs down it is. It's a free country. Look around, there's a bell button. You can click to subscribe for more videos. This is the SilverStone LD01B from their Lucid range.